ArtsyFartzy Club. My name is Mrs. Johnson, and I had you guys, or myself, on mute. I am so sorry. I just totally got into the role of doing this stuff, and I forgot. And Percy was on the stage. Who knew? I had my son in here, and he was clicking all the buttons. So I am so sorry. Anyway, guys, so as long as you're still with me, I hope that you are. How are you guys doing today? Well, we have a lot of craziness going on. Usually I do 2 episodes a week. So I have my pre-recorded on Wednesdays and my live on Saturdays. And I didn't do my pre-recorded the last couple of weeks because we were dealing with hurricane and then hurricane recovery. So I did some hurricane camps before and after the hurricane because the kids had this like surprise week off of school because of all the preparation and after effect. And then it's just been banana pants here. So that being said, when we drove around to some of the affected areas, we wanted to see what was happening and how we could help. And we ended up volunteering at the primate sanctuary for their cleanup. They really rely on volunteer work. It is a lady that had inherited the primate sanctuary from her grandparents, and they are always like really on a really tight budget. And so they are known for taking in primates that were like surrendered from like the movie industry and owners that really couldn't take care of them anymore. So they took in the famous monkey cheetah that was in the movies. And anyway, so my family went and volunteered there. We also brought boxes of clothes, personal care items, household essentials, towels, all these new things that, I've accumulated over the years buying on clearance. I brought those to an elementary school that was having a cookout so people could have a hot meal. And then it was really nice to see that the items, as soon as I brought them, were being shopped by families to use, that they just didn't have those things. So amongst all of this, we saw just families hugging each other and explaining how they lost literally everything in their home. So I got to thinking and I started an initiative. I've been communicating with Dr. Brown in the Pinellas County schools, and we're trying to get, I'm trying to get into these affected schools that have children that are either homeless or displaced temporarily because of the hurricane. And I want to host art therapy classes. So there's about 6 schools in my immediate area, elementaries and middle schools, that have children that are displaced. And the idea would be to give them like at least a 6-week program, 6 to 8 weeks. And I'm already working on the curriculum, but I can't afford to do it alone. I could probably donate 1 class per school and be able to manage that. But that being said, I have a 2-year-old at home and I would need childcare. My husband works from home, so he can help out a little bit, but he's also supposed to be making the money so that we can feed our family of 4 children. And our expenses are in Florida are kind of a lot because it's expensive to live in Florida. So that being said, I can't do it alone. I just cannot fund to do these classes, a 6 to 8 week program at like 3 to 6 schools, depending on if the guidance counselors invite me into those schools. So that being said, I started a GoFundMe, and I really hope that some of you take a moment. I've just dropped it in the comments. Take a moment to check it out. I'm going to put in what I think I'm going to do for the curriculum soon so that you can see directly what I'm planning on doing. And so some of the money will go for supplies, certainly, but also I need my own childcare to be able to donate my time. So that's, the travel time. So let's say 30 minutes there, 30 minutes back, depending on where the school is. I mean, obviously that adjusts. And the hour of the art lesson. So any bit helps. I mean, if you are willing to donate the cost of a coffee, primo. If everybody can, pitch in and do that, then we're going to be able to bring art to these kids. And art if you're an art lover like me, which you are here, so chances are you know the value of art, but also the proven medical benefits of art on mental health and emotional well-being. Is just amazing that it is the equivalent of meditating when people are doing art, and that mindfulness. These poor kids, they're just kind of in shock still. And they've just literally lost everything. One of my husband's fitness clients, the daughter was just like, but do I still have my stuffed animals? Like, she was really concerned because they hadn't been able to get into the house yet. And luckily, some of her favorite stuffed animal was saved because they had put it up on a dresser for thinking to make sure that it was okay. So, just think about all those little personal items that make them feel safe. They don't have anymore. So anyway, if you are able to do that, thank you. Bless you. And I really appreciate it because I can't do it alone. That being said, let's get into today's art project. So I said that we were going to do African-inspired masks. And we are, but I wanted to share with you guys a thought on this. And let me share my screen with you. I got all the things I want to share with you. So let's share this one first. Okay. So that being said, there, I wanted to see what you see. Oh, and you see Percy enjoying his little cat nap there. So when we talk about multiculturalism in the art room, we are oftentimes talking about a culture and not really multiple cultures. So it's hard for some people to wrap their head around a multiple culture lesson. So, but if let's say I want to teach a lesson on masks, you can approach it in a couple different ways. We can talk about a culture, like today's lesson, I'm going to focus on African art. And then you could talk about multiple cultures. So we could talk about masks from various cultures. So this is like showing masks from all different ethnicities, different countries. And that would be multiple cultures, multiculturalism. Okay. And that's cool and that's fine. But it's hard for us as art teachers and in elementary students to wrap their head around the diversity of the masks and trying to incorporate those multiple things into one object. I find that it's very hard. So that being said, let me see if I can share out another screen. I'm not used to sharing all this stuff. Share screen. Share screen. Let's see. Where'd he go? There he is. Okay. So when I teach lower L, it's very hard to do multiple cultures. And then there's also this new concept of visual culture. So people will throw at you that you're doing appropriation if you are teaching just this one culture. You're trying to steal this idea from this culture. And it's not like I am producing art and saying that this is mine, this is my own. Obviously, I'm not African American, and this is not, from my country. So if I was to do that as an artist and say that this is me, this is coming from me, then that is appropriation. But it's not appropriation if we are trying to teach kids about different cultures. Then what? We don't teach them anything. So, but we have to make them aware that we're teaching a particular segment of a culture in a particular time. So there's a newer theory, I guess it's decades old now that as time goes by and I get older, that's called visual culture. So visual culture would be going, if I showed them things from the past and present, if I showed them things made by women and men, showed them masks that are made in all different countries from different ethnicities and, those different genders, different, whatever, cultures, countries, all the things, all the factors, right? That's visual culture. That's showing them a little bit of everything. And then, so we're not segregating into this one concept, this one pinhole idea, this one point in history. What we want to be careful is to not make them think that Africa is a backwater tribal stuck in this pinpoint of time back in history. We want them to understand that they're just as contemporary as we are, and they have cell phones and TVs and all the things, but they also have traditions. And so they still will use these traditional masks that very much, they're not just for decorations on walls, they're very much ingrained into their culture for festivals and ceremonies. Okay, so I might show them something like this where we talk about different masks from different areas and different purposes within the culture. And I especially would want them to see the patterns. We would talk about patterns and lines on these masks. Now let me see if I can share the next one. I am giving you guys an impromptu lesson here. Share screen. And we want to share this. Nope, not that one. That one. Okay. It is called, why am I not seeing it? There you are. So I might show them different culture, or more than one culture, maybe, and let them choose which symbols and patterns they want to use on their mask. So this would be a multiple culture if I showed them African masks and I showed them some Aztec masks, and then I showed them some, bear with me guys, I'm sorry, this is my first time really digging in here with share screen. And then I might talk about the Dia de los Muertos because it's coming up, right? And so then another culture's mask. So we've got multiple masks, but we have some similarities with the use of line and shape and patterns that we can talk about. So that's multiculturalism. That's actually showing them multiple cultures. But for this case, I am going to show them a culture, and I'm going to share out a screen with you guys, but it's in a little bit, that focuses on just one culture. We're going to talk about African culture because I find that a lot of times students and teachers can focus on that one subject a little bit easier, and then we can get a little more in depth. So, hey, buddy. We've got to love Percy. Give him his love. Thanks for visiting. I know you love to hang out with me on my art table and leave cat glitter everywhere. We have one dog and one cat. And he's such a good cat. I know that orange cats get a bad rap, but he is the most loving, sweet guy like ever. All right, buddy. Bye-bye. Okay. So here we go, guys. I hope you are still with me. So to start out, I would give them multiple choices of paper. I would have a bunch of 12 by 18s out, but to fit in on our screen, I make it these smaller 6 by 12. And that being said, I would have a wide variety of colors, all the way from black and white to all the rainbow colors to neons, okay, and pastels and all different things. And we would talk about contrast first. So contrast is the difference between two colors. So I would give them an example and say red and orange do not contrast very well. They're too close. These would not be contrasting colors that I would choose, okay? But you could contrast light versus dark. You could contrast warm versus cool. You could contrast complementary colors, right? Complementary colors, okay? Those would be different things. But since I have some odd colors that are not the norm on the rainbow, okay, maybe I do dark versus light because these aren't warm or cool, right? And they're not complementary colors, but these very much contrast each other because it's so light and so dark. So if you get into those pastels or the neons and stuff, they can start to think about how they're going to make sure that those colors are going to oppose each other so that their design shows up really well. All right. That being said, I chose yellow and blue today, and I'm running out of my good paper because I hosted that hurricane camp, and I'm running out of my acid-free paper, so I need to restock, which is a little nerve-wracking because, like I said, money is tight, and we shall see how this all goes. Okay, cut one of your papers vertically. Now, I don't have them do it. I actually will have my vertical sheets already pre-cut. So they have blank choices of, multiple choices of the big sheets and then multiple choices of the half sheets. And so, okay. So now they're going to line up, and then I'll do a whole presentation on symmetry. This is usually a multi-day assignment, but I just gave you guys like this whole thesis. Keep in mind, I'm so passionate about talking about multiculturalism and visual culture. I did a whole thesis on it. And I don't know, it's really hard to do it justice in a 30-minute show. But that being said, there is so much more to get into that. But let's get into our lesson. Okay, so then we talk about symmetry, and I'll do a whole video about symmetrical design. So like a butterfly and a human face. So if I was to take a line down the center of my face, that is my line of symmetry. And my face is symmetrical on both sides. I have one eye on each side. I have an ear on each side. But then I have my things that are centered on my line of symmetry, and I have halves. So I have half a nose, half a nose, half a mouth, half a mouth. Okay, so I have these things on each side, objects of my face. And so I think of my objects on my face as shapes. And I would have a handout to them of genuine African masks that they can kind of see shapes that they might like to use in their mask. Or they can just do it from their mind. So I tell them they need to fill their paper. So if they leave anything empty, I go back and I come at them and I say, hey, you got a lot of empty space here. You crunched all of your face here, like I told you not to do. You're going to need to fill in this space. Maybe add a goatee shape or eyebrows, okay? And then they'll work on that. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to start with my nose because my nose is going to be toward the center, and I can base everything off of that. So I'm going to draw half a nose. My nose could be a triangle, or it can be an actual shape. So I'm going to think about what those African mask shapes were, and then I'm going to go from there. So in my mind, I recall these rounded eyes. Where they kind of showed that upper and lower eyelid. Okay. But they had that inside piece. I'm going to I need to be careful not to have it too thin there because when I go to cut it, I want it to be able to hold together pretty easily. And if you have too thin of a space, you might run into problems. So I'm going to fix that a little bit. Okay. And a mouth. So half a mouth shape. You can make this mouth shape however you want it to be. Okay, so now my mouth will be open because I did a shape inside the shape of the mouth. And I don't like that up curve. I'm going to change that also. I could do other things. I could add in an ear shape. I could add in a cheek shape. In fact, I might do that. I'm going to add in a cheek shape. Okay, we're going to go from there. So, super important. When you go to cut this out, you are not going to have anything left as a scrap. Everything gets used. You should not have any scraps. If you throw away a piece of paper, you did it wrong. And I tell my students this, you better not throw anything out. You can't go in and like trim something off. You don't like the way that you cut it. Once you cut, you are committed. You cannot recut a shape, because if you recut a shape, then it won't be the same when you reflect it off the other side. So my thumb goes in the little hole, my fingers go in the big hole, my thumb is pointed up at the ceiling, and I'm going to start from my edge. These ones are easy to cut because they're right on my edge. Those will be the ones I like to start first. Now remember, once you have cut a shape, you cannot adjust it. It is what it is. So be confident with your cuts. If you have pencil lines that show, you will erase it. It's okay. The pencil lines were your guides, and that's what erasers are made for. So go around, and notice that I'm holding it with my left hand. My right hand is doing all the work. I am, or is just opening and closing. My left hand is doing all the work, excuse me. And don't move my scissors. I move the paper. My scissors, I am just slowly squeezing, and I'm turning that paper. Turn, 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 turn. It's okay if you like run into a problem and you want to take out your scissors and realign it. That's okay. Just put it right back where you left off. I'm pushing that all the way into the back of my scissor, which is my crocodile mouth, right? So pushing it all the way back. There we go. All right. And cutting, cutting, cutting. Now we're almost at the point of our eye. Here we go. So you're wondering, how do I make this work? Okay, do not poke a hole into your paper. It will tear your paper and it will not look nice. You can't do the pinchy technique to cut. Chances are it will cut weird and will not look nice. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to cut in from the edge of my paper and then cut out this shape. And if I cut it correctly, if I cut it correctly, when I go to glue this down, I will glue that together, not like this, and that seam will virtually disappear. Okay. People aren't going to go head in and like inspect your work. They're going to see it from a distance, and that seam should kind of fade into the background. Now, this is a separate shape. I'm going to cut it from the other side because I don't want to have two cuts right next to each other. That'll make my artwork kind of weak in that part. So I'm going to go ahead and cut it from the other side. Be careful that you don't rip your paper. This part is really thin. Now I could have done just one shape as my eye. My eye could have been a circle, could have been a triangle. I've had kids do heart shapes because they like hearts. Do you, okay? This is, you get to take the concept of those African masks that we learned about and then make it your own. Okay, next step. I'm going to set these pieces aside. Do not lose your pieces. Oh, love of my life. I would have one kid or so lose a piece a year, and the poor guy or gal would be very upset because then they have to be really creative with fixing their project. And we'll talk about that later, but usually it would be drawing the shape in the correct color. Don't lose a piece. Okay. So I'm going to use a glue stick. You could use Elmer's glue, but you're going to want to make sure you put enough glue at those seams so that they look like they seal together and they're all glued down. We don't have any problems. Okay. Going around all my edges. And I'm gluing on the side that I have my pencil. You're going to have to erase one side or the other. So I'm just going to do this side because then I can have this pencil gone. Okay. Boop-a-doop. All right. Nice and gluey. I'm going to flip it. Very carefully. Line it up with the edge of your paper. Line, line, line. And then especially care about those seams. Okay. Try to get those seams to glue down nice. I slightly have it overlapping the bottom edge, so my top edge is slightly showing. I'm committed now, so I'm not going to change it. Okay. So sometimes I would have little books, or not little books, big book, like textbooks on the table, and I'd set it down and tell them to set it onto this piece so it will all press down nicely. That's probably what I would do for them. All right, that being said, now put together your art like a puzzle. Put all the pieces in. I'm putting all those pieces in. Some of them might be hard because you might have, like, these are two similar shapes, but there is a right one and a wrong one. Okay, so let me show you. If I go to put this one in, it doesn't align correctly. You can see the blue peeking through, right? I know that's not the right one. When I put this one in, those blue spots don't peek through anymore. Okay. Now, then I will flip my shapes one by one over that line of symmetry to make my mask symmetrical. Boop, boop. All right. Don't worry, the glue will dry clear and you'll be a-okay. So this one's easy because it's on the line of symmetry. This one gets a little bit harder because it will be on the edge, but I've got to make sure I have it in the right spot. I don't want to put it down here. That's not symmetrical. So I'm going to take this and flip, 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 flip. Try to line it up as best I can with the height of the other one. You could even take a piece of paper and kind of go, how are we doing? Oh, pretty close. Okay, close enough. Now, this is the tricky one. The shape in a shape. So what they'll want to do is flip this little shape first. But that's not correct. If I was to flip the mouth, let's imagine this is a whole piece, then that's flipped over fine. But the inside of the mouth has to reflect again the other way for that reflection to be correct. Okay, so remind them of this. And then I'm going to go ahead and glue the big piece first so that I know that my inside of my mouth will be lined up in the correct spot after. Okay. And then also, they'll flip it and they'll do a rotation. So a rotation is if it literally, it's what it sounds like, goes counterclockwise or clockwise, like a playing card. You know how the king is facing one way when he's up and then he's facing the other way when he's down because he did a rotation, not a reflection. We got to make sure that this is a reflection across that line of symmetry, not a rotation, or else that won't be correct. Okay. Now, the tougher one is going to be the eyeball. That's why I left it for last, because you now have to guesstimate the distance of this. So I'm going flip, but I can't flip it and put it here. That's not correct. And you will have a student do that. Give it space, 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 space. And Shazam. There you go, guys. Okay, and once again, reflect. Cross that line of symmetry. You're guesstimating that spacing not only across the line, but now also from the other shape. Okay. Then I would go through, and chances are that's a class, and they're done, and they let it dry. Now, depending on how you're teaching, if I'm teaching a small group at like a camp, yeah, I could probably get them to do the whole thing in one day. But in a classroom that's got a 35 to 40 minute class or whatever, nah, they're not doing it in one day. And in fact, it might even take 2 to 3 days, depending on the abilities of your students. When I taught at a low economic school, Title I, I would say this would take me a 3-day. Okay. So that being said, let me check really quick to see if I have any questions. Hi, guys. Oh, hi. Doodles Creative Studio. Thank you for joining. Haliquinoli. Wow, I'm not saying that correct. I'm so sorry. Tinwali. Woo Day, thank you for joining. And Crystal Santiago. Wow. Thanks, guys, for joining. I appreciate that. That's cool. All right. So all of that being said, here we go. So now I said I was going to share out a screen. So we'd go here, share your screen. And I think it's this one. Yes. Okay. So I would give them not only printouts of masks from different areas, you can show them masks from different particular cultures, but like Nigeria and Ghana. And those are the two couple of countries that are popping off in my head. But then also I would show them symbols within those countries. So this worksheet shows these different symbols, okay? So for example, let me see. One of these, where did you go? This one. Okay, so it's the Macrado. Don't know how to say it properly. But that symbol, I would let them, I would have the names of the symbols, and I would also have the meanings so that they could know, what the culture isn't just decorative. It really means something to these people, and the different symbols mean something. So some of the masks would be used to in dances where it means like one of their a spirit or a religious figure, okay? And then other masks are used by the village elders or like kind of like law enforcement, I guess you would call it. And when they are punishing somebody for a crime that they committed against the tribe or their group or village or city, wherever the situation is. But traditionally it was against a tribe, I guess, back in the day. So sometimes this particular symbol, it means law and justice. So I would want the kids to know what these different symbols mean before they go just throwing them on their masks. I don't think that that's fair to them. And I certainly don't think that's fair to the culture to just, that would be appropriation. We're just taking it without really knowing what it's about. Okay. And then like this, almost like a hurricane style. This one was a symbol of royalty. And so royalty would wear that as on their clothes during like festivals and stuff. And it means like the hair of the servant or whatever. I don't know why. That would involve a lot more research than I did. But so that's a cool symbol too. So the drawing materials are your choice. I would use either colored pencils. Well, that wouldn't be my first choice, honestly, because colored pencils are thin, but you could use colored pencils. You guys know that Prismacolors are my colored pencils of choice because they go on really well to anything. But you also can use construction paper colored pencils. Those are fine. Metallic colored pencils show up on construction paper pretty well. I would probably, I know I did. I got Gel FX for this project. I like Gel FX markers. I really genuinely do. They're cool. Kids like it. It's like magic that it shows up on the construction paper, no matter what color it is, especially the dark construction paper. But my only complaint, I don't know if they've changed the formula since I used to buy them, but they dry out really fast. They get used up really fast. So you would need to buy probably new markers every year because many of them will have died. So they would go, okay, now with your time, fill your space, but you have to make it symmetrical on both sides, drawing these symbols. So I would go, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. So then they would go and draw. Yeah. This Gel FX is drying out. See, guys, it's just so sad that they dry out so fast. And then Gel effects are cool because they look one way, and then as they dry onto the paper, it starts to like lighten up or brighten up, I should say. It's almost like a layer of like a chalking effect, kind of. Okay, so now here's a tricky thing. How do we reflect this? Because it's not a normal shape, it's a spiraling shape. So I would go, okay, now it needs to go this way, and then this way, and this way, and this way. Come on, Gel FX, don't let me down. Oh, another one bites the dust. It's going to have to go to the trash can, guys. Shame on you. Okay, I have these overwriters, and I don't know if I've actually ever used this. But then, okay, so they might use these symbols, but then they might also use lines like we saw in the other one, or patterns. So I'm going to go, okay, I'm going to do lines. Let's see if this overwriter actually works. I don't honestly don't think I've ever used this before. Then I go, okay, I'm going to do that over here. 1, 2, 3, 4, thicken them up. I don't even know if they still make these overwriters. I should look into that. I used to go to the art teacher conferences, and of course they have these giant vendor areas, and the vendors, you know, give you samples so you could test stuff out. I literally don't think I ever tried these out, so let's see what happens. You're supposed to be able to write over top. Is magic going to happen here? I'm going to say not so much, guys. Am I using it wrong? I don't get it. Sorry, Crayola. I'm not doing you justice, maybe. But it's not showing up. Okay, overwriters are a no-go. Let's see, I've got some gel markers. Would these work? Let's see. I've got this symbol I can do. Try it out. Kind of like a little curly heart, if you really think about it. And then I'll go see if we can fill it into this space and do the same thing. Okay. The gel markers, okay. All right, let's show you some Prismacolors. I'm telling you, Prismacolors are the bomb. Just my favorite. They always work. All right. And then I'm not saying that you have to use the same color on both sides. You really could. You can make it a light color on one side and a dark color on the other side. That's always an option. Maybe do some kind of lines. 1, 2, 3. And I'm just kind of trying to keep it simple for the sake of time here, guys. But see? Prismacolor for the win, always. And then let's show you the metallics really quick. You could probably use like a paint pen. Let's see. Yeah, the metallics just don't, it's not showing up on this blue. Well, it's blue on blue. So maybe on a black, it would look good. Well, I know on a black, it would look better than this. Let's try the other color. Yeah, the other colors show up better. Blue on blue, not doing the best. Okay. So if you have new Gel FX, it'll look great. Old ones, not so much. Prismacolor, always awesome. The gel, the bold gel markers, that's not bad, actually. That doesn't look too bad on that dark. So what about if I used a lighter color? How would it look on the dark? Let's see. It's not bad on the dark. Still not like a Gel FX. I don't know if you can see right here where the Gel FX is really working. That would be my way to go. It's not bad though. But Gel FX still would be my marker of choice. And there you go. There's the idea, guys. Oh, why was I doing it so little? Sorry. I'm not thinking. Boop. There you go. Sorry, guys. Do you see? And boo, Mrs. Johnson, fail. Not my best video. I'm telling you guys. Oh, this one's totally dry. Oh, it died. 2 markers that need to go in the trash. Okay. So you can kind of see the Gel FX. Anything I do on one side, I have to do on the other side. And I would just keep going until I, filled my space and ran out of class time. I mean, you could even get details on top of your details if you gave them multiple drawing mediums. Just an idea. All right. Always, you can drop me down comments down below. I really appreciate you guys being here. Sorry for my disorganization. Screen share is not my friend. We're not going to do that again. That was not good. That was not good. Okay. But I hope you get the idea of what the lesson can look like. And that those, to cut in, that you have no wasted space. We talked about all sorts of things today. We were talking about line, shape, contrast. We are talking about the line of symmetry, okay, making things symmetrical. We talked about multiple cultures. And of course, as always, I always emphasize to my students, good craftsmanship. So doing your artwork nice and neat. Wowie, wowie, wowerson. Thank you so much for being here with me. If you get a chance, can you please check out that GoFundMe? I would really appreciate it. I don't know how I'm going to do this, bring these art classes to kids without it. But I really see the need that these kids need to heal. They're having a hard time, and this will probably affect some of these children for a lifetime. They are feeling unsure and unsafe. So we want to help give them some control back so they can have control over their art, and they can express themselves through their art and make their own choices. And it does a lot to feed the soul, as they say. All right. Again, If you've never been here before, you are now officially a member of the ArtsyFartzy Club. Yay! And my name is Mrs. Johnson. If nobody's told you today, I absolutely love you. Thank you so much. You are one of my people. If you made it all this way, make sure that you like and subscribe. I would really appreciate that. It helps me out. When you like the video, you take that moment just to hit that thing. It really helps to spread the word about the videos. And until we see each other again, I hope that you are absolutely artastic. Thanks so much for being here.